In the heart of a medieval village, where cobblestones cradled the footfalls of weary travelers, and ivy draped gracefully over the ancient stone walls, there existed a time when the stars were not merely distant points of light, but celestial guides whispering secrets to those who dared to listen. Among the villagers, tales of fate and fortune were woven as intricately as the tapestries that hung in the grand hall of the Baron's keep. Here, in this quaint hamlet, nestled between verdant hills and shadowy forests, a young scribe named Ewan found himself entangled in the celestial dance of destiny. Ewan was a man of quiet observation, with ink-stained fingers and a penchant for the arcane. His days were spent chronicling the mundane affairs of the village, while his nights were devoted to the study of the cosmos. His heart, however, was not as orderly as his manuscripts. It beat with an unspoken longing, a quiet yearning for a love that had yet to find its way into the lines of his parchment. And so, beneath the canopy of the night sky, Ewan sought guidance from the stars, hoping to discover the secrets of attraction in their twinkling patterns. In the marketplace, amidst the aroma of fresh bread and the clamor of bartering merchants, there was a young maiden named Alara. Her eyes were the color of a tempestuous sea, and her laughter, like the chiming of distant bells, was a melody that lingered in the air long after she had passed. Alara was known for her wit and wisdom, a woman with an unyielding spirit that made her both admired and respected. It was she who had captured the heart of Ewan, though she remained blissfully unaware of the scribe's silent adoration. One fateful evening, as the village settled into the embrace of twilight, Ewan resolved to enlist the stars' aid in winning Alara's affection. With quill in hand and a heart full of hope, he crafted a plan as meticulous as the night sky itself. He believed that by understanding the celestial alignments, he could orchestrate a series of encounters that would surely lead Alara to see him not as a mere scribe, but as a man worthy of her love. His first endeavor was to consult the alignment of Venus, the planet of love, and Mars, the harbinger of passion. Scribbling feverishly by candlelight, Ewan noted the positions of the planets, convinced that their conjunction would grant him the courage to approach Alara. He decided to present her with a bouquet of wildflowers, the blooms chosen for their supposed astrological significance. Yet, as he stood before her, the words he had rehearsed time and again fled from his mind, leaving him tongue-tied and awkward. Alara, with her gentle grace, accepted the flowers with a smile, though her eyes held a hint of bemusement. Undeterred by this minor setback, Ewan sought further guidance from the stars. He studied the movements of Mercury, the messenger, hoping to craft a letter that would convey his affections with eloquence and charm. But as he penned his missive, each word seemed to betray him, twisting his sentiments into knots of confusion. When Alara received the letter, she read it with a furrowed brow, the meaning obscured beneath layers of celestial metaphor. She tucked it away, unsure of the scribe's intent, yet touched by the earnestness that shone through the muddled prose. The village, with its winding alleys and bustling square, became the stage upon which Ewan's celestial courtship unfolded. He turned to the moon, believing in its power to illuminate the path of his heart. Under its silvery light, he attempted to charm Alara with tales of constellations and the myths they carried, imagining that these stories would kindle a spark of interest in her gaze. Yet, as he spoke of Orion and Cassiopeia, Alara's attention wandered to the humbler stories of the villagers, the tales told by the firelight that spoke of real lives and laughter, of struggles and triumphs. Each night, Ewan would return to his modest chamber, the glow of the stars casting shadows across his weary face, his heart heavy with the weight of unspoken words. The celestial dance continued, indifferent to his plight, and he found himself questioning the wisdom of seeking the stars' intervention in matters of the heart. Yet, every morning, the sight of Alara's smile renewed his resolve, pushing him to try once more. In a final desperate attempt, Ewan decided to orchestrate a grand display, a festival of stars that would surely win Alara's heart. He planned a night of stargazing, inviting her to join him in a meadow beyond the village where the sky stretched vast and unbroken. There, he promised, they would witness a meteor shower, a celestial spectacle that he believed would mirror the feelings he struggled to express. On the appointed night, the village lay silent. save for the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. Alara, intrigued by Ewan's invitation, made her way to the meadow, her curiosity piqued by the scribe's persistence. As they lay on the soft grass, the sky above them a canvas of infinite possibility, Ewan pointed out the constellations, his voice a soft murmur against the whisper of the wind. But the meteors, those elusive harbingers of wonder, remained hidden behind a veil of clouds. The sky, instead of offering spectacle, provided only the steady glow of the stars and the gentle arc of the moon. Ewan's heart sank, the culmination of his efforts shrouded in the quiet disappointment of an unfulfilled promise. Yet, in that moment of stillness, beneath the vast expanse of the heavens, something shifted. Alara turned to Ewan, her eyes reflecting the starlight, and spoke words that cut through the silence like a gentle breeze. "Ewan," she began, her voice warm with understanding, "the stars are indeed beautiful, but it is your heart, not the heavens, that I find truly captivating." In the quiet that followed, Ewan realized that the stars, for all their mystery and allure, were but a backdrop to the simple truth of human connection. It was not the planets or their alignments that mattered, but the sincerity of his feelings, unadorned by the trappings of celestial grandeur. And so, as the night wrapped its arms around the village, Ewan and Alara sat side by side, the stars above them a silent witness to a love that needed no cosmic intervention to flourish. In that meadow, beneath the watchful gaze of the ancient sky, they discovered that sometimes the most profound connections are forged not through the grand gestures inspired by the heavens, but in the quiet moments shared under their endless expanse. The night deepened, each star a pinprick in the fabric of the universe, casting a gentle glow upon the earth. The meadow lay cradled in the cool embrace of twilight, a serene haven where time seemed to slow its relentless march. Ewan and Alara, seated amidst the whispering grasses, found solace in the simplicity of their companionship. The air was rich with the scent of dew-kissed wildflowers, and the faint chirping of crickets formed a symphony of nature's own making. Ewan's heart no longer raced with the frenzy of misguided ambition. Instead, it beat steadily, a rhythm of newfound peace. He turned to Alara, her presence a balm to his restless soul, and felt a surge of gratitude for the wisdom she had shared. Her words had peeled away the layers of his celestial obsessions, revealing the raw, unvarnished truth of human affection. "Alara," he murmured, his voice low and reverent as if he feared to disturb the sacredness of the moment. "How did you come to see so clearly what I could not?" Alara smiled, her gaze resting on the velvet sky, where constellations sparkled like jewels scattered across a darkened sea. "Perhaps it is the way of my heart," she replied, her tone soft yet imbued with a quiet strength. "I have always believed that true magic lies not in the stars, but in the connections we weave with one another." Ewan pondered her words, feeling them settle within him like seeds taking root. He realized that in his quest to harness the heavens, he had overlooked the magic that dwelt within the human spirit. The realization was humbling, yet liberating, freeing him from the chains of his own expectations. As the night wore on, Ewan and Alara spoke of dreams and hopes, their voices mingling with the gentle rustle of the leaves. They shared stories of their childhood, of laughter and tears, of moments that had shaped them into the people they were. The meadow became a canvas for their shared histories, a tapestry woven with threads of vulnerability and trust. Ewan found himself captivated not by Alara's beauty, though it was undeniable, but by the depth of her understanding and the lightness of her laughter. She possessed a grace that needed no embellishment, a kindness that was as vast as the sky itself. In her presence, he felt seen, truly seen, in a way that transcended the superficial readings of astrological charts. The moon, a silver crescent, rose higher, casting a gentle luminescence over the landscape. It bathed the world in a soft glow, turning the meadow into a realm of dreams. Ewan, emboldened by the tranquility of the night, reached for Alara's hand, their fingers intertwining in a gesture that spoke volumes. "Thank you," he said, his voice barely a whisper, yet carrying the weight of his sincerity, "for showing me what truly matters." Alara squeezed his hand, her touch warm and reassuring. "We are all but stardust, Ewan, yet it is our hearts that hold the universe within them." In that moment, Ewan understood the depth of her words, the profound simplicity of their truth. He realized that the constellations above, with their ancient stories and timeless beauty, were but a reflection of the connections that bound humanity together. It was these ties, forged in the fires of shared experiences and unspoken understanding, that created the real magic of the world. The night unfolded around them like a gentle lullaby, the stars a silent choir that sang of eternal possibilities. Ewan and Alara sat in companionable silence, their hearts aligned in a harmony that needed no celestial chart to define. The meadow, once a stage for Ewan's misguided attempts at astrological wooing, became a sanctuary of genuine affection. As the dawn began its gentle ascent, painting the horizon with hues of pink and gold, Ewan felt a sense of renewal. The light of the new day seemed to whisper promises of hope and beginnings, of a future unburdened by the weight of past mistakes. Alara rose, her movements graceful and fluid, and Ewan followed suit. Together, they made their way back to the village, the path before them illuminated by the first rays of the sun. The world was awakening, the air filled with the sweet scent of morning and the cheerful songs of birds heralding the day's arrival. As they walked side by side, Ewan felt a newfound lightness in his step. He glanced at Alara, her face radiant in the soft glow of dawn, and knew that the journey they had embarked on was just beginning. The future lay spread before them, an unwritten tale waiting to be filled with moments of joy and discovery. Ewan smiled, his heart brimming with a quiet joy, and spoke words that held the promise of all that was to come. "Alara, shall we explore what lies ahead together?" Alara turned to him, her eyes bright with the light of 1,000 stars, and nodded. "Yes, Ewan," she replied, her voice a melody that resonated with hope. "Together." And so, with the sun rising behind them and the village welcoming the embrace of a new day, Ewan and Alara stepped forward into the future, their hearts as open as the sky above, ready to chart a course not by the stars, but by the compass of their own desires and dreams. The morning air was crisp and fragrant, the scent of dew-kissed earth mingling with the distant aroma of freshly baked bread wafting from the village. As Ewan and Alara continued their walk, the cobblestone path beneath their feet seemed to hum with the vibrancy of life, each stone a silent witness to the countless stories that had unfolded along its winding course. The villagers, slowly emerging from their homes, offered nods and smiles, their eyes flickering with curiosity and warmth at the sight of the young couple. Ewan's mind, however, could not completely escape the shadows of his recent follies. He had sought to win Alara's heart through the stars, employing the ancient and mysterious art of astrology with the misguided belief that the heavens held the key to love. But in the end, it was not the celestial alignments or cryptic charts that had bridged the gap between them, but the simple, earnest truth of their shared humanity. As they walked, Ewan couldn't help but recall the series of misadventures that had unfolded, each attempt more absurd and desperate than the last. There was the incident with the star map, for instance, a parchment filled with intricate constellations and nonsensical symbols that he presented to Alara as a guide to their perfect union. He remembered her bemused expression as she tried to discern meaning from the kaleidoscope of lines and dots, her brow furrowed with polite confusion. Then came the ill-fated prophecy he had crafted, a poetic yet utterly implausible prediction of their shared future, penned with the flourish of a dramatist and the accuracy of a blind archer. Ewan had recited it with great fervor, his voice echoing through the village square, only to be met with a chorus of laughter from the gathered townsfolk and a gentle yet firm rebuke from Alara herself. "Your words are lovely, Ewan," she had said, her eyes twinkling with mirth, "but they are not the stars that guide my heart." It was a humbling moment, one that forced Ewan to confront the folly of his ways. In his attempt to wield the cosmos as a tool of persuasion, he had lost sight of the genuine connection that lay between them, obscured by the veil of his own ambitions. Now, as they strolled through the awakening village, Ewan felt the weight of his past mistakes lift from his shoulders, replaced by the lightness of acceptance and understanding. The path ahead was clear, not because the stars had ordained it, but because he and Alara had chosen it, together. Their journey took them beyond the village, into the verdant embrace of the surrounding forest. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor, where wildflowers bloomed in a riot of colors. The air was alive with the rustle of leaves and the distant call of a cuckoo, a symphony of nature that accompanied their every step. As they walked, Alara spoke of her dreams and aspirations, her words painting vivid pictures of the life she envisioned. She spoke of her desire to learn the healing arts, to harness the power of herbs and potions to mend the ailments of both body and spirit. Ewan listened with rapt attention, the sincerity of her passion resonating within him like a gentle echo. In turn, Ewan shared his own hopes and fears, the dreams that whispered to him in the quiet hours of the night. He spoke of his love for the written word, his yearning to craft tales that would inspire and uplift, to weave stories that would endure long after the final page had been turned. Their conversation flowed like a river, winding through the landscape of their shared imaginings, each word a stepping stone, leading them ever deeper into the heart of their connection. But as the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its golden light upon the world, a shadow of unease crept into Ewan's thoughts. He remembered the whispered warnings of the village elders, the tales of the forest's hidden dangers, and the creatures that lurked in the depths of its tangled undergrowth. Yet, even as these thoughts flickered in his mind, he felt the gentle pressure of Alara's hand in his, a reassuring presence that dispelled his fears like mist before the morning sun. Together, they were stronger than any uncertainty that might seek to divide them. Their path led them to a clearing, a serene glade where a crystal-clear stream meandered through the grass, its waters glistening like liquid silver beneath the sun's warm embrace. Here, they paused to rest, the tranquility of the place wrapping around them like a comforting shroud. Ewan watched as Alara knelt beside the stream, her fingers trailing through the cool, clear water. There was a grace to her movements, a quiet strength that spoke of her deep connection to the natural world. He marveled at her ability to find beauty and meaning in the simplest of things, a gift that he had often overlooked in his pursuit of grand gestures and celestial signs. With a sigh, Ewan lay back on the soft grass, his gaze drifting to the sky above. The clouds drifted lazily across the azure expanse, their ever-shifting forms a reminder of the impermanence of all things. It was a lesson he had come to understand on this journey, the realization that life was not a series of fixed points, but a dance of constant motion and change. As he lay there, he felt a sense of peace settle over him, a quiet contentment that filled him with a newfound appreciation for the present moment. He closed his eyes, letting the gentle murmur of the stream and the rustle of the leaves lull him into a state of serene contemplation. But even as he rested, a part of him remained alert, his senses attuned to the world around him. It was this awareness that caught the faintest rustle in the underbrush, the almost imperceptible sound of movement that set his heart racing with a mix of anticipation and caution. Sitting up, Ewan scanned the edge of the clearing, his eyes searching for the source of the disturbance. For a moment, he saw nothing but the familiar shapes of the forest, the trees standing sentinel over the glade. But then there it was again, a flicker of motion, a shadow slipping between the branches. Ewan's heart quickened, his mind racing with possibilities. Was it a deer, come to drink from the stream? Or perhaps a fox, curious about the intruders in its domain? He felt a thrill of excitement, tempered by the awareness of the unknown, a reminder that the world was full of mysteries yet to be uncovered. Beside him, Alara rose gracefully to her feet, her eyes meeting his with a question unspoken. With a nod, Ewan indicated the direction of the movement, and together they approached the edge of the clearing, their footsteps silent upon the forest floor. As they drew closer, the shadows deepened, the forest closing in around them like a cloak of secrets. The air was cool and still, the only sound the soft whisper of the breeze in the branches above. Ewan felt a shiver of anticipation, the thrill of discovery mingling with the tension of uncertainty. And then, emerging from the shadows, came a figure, a small, delicate creature, its fur dappled with sunlight and shadow. It was a fawn, its wide eyes filled with the innocence of youth, its movements tentative and cautious. Ewan and Alara watched in awe as the fawn stepped into the clearing, its presence a reminder of the beauty and fragility of life. Time seemed to stand still, the moment suspended in a perfect balance between wonder and reverence. As they gazed upon the fawn, Ewan felt a profound sense of connection, not only to the creature before him, but to the world itself, to the intricate web of life that bound all things together. It was a revelation, the understanding that love and beauty were not found in the stars, but in the simple, everyday moments that made up the tapestry of existence. With a soft nudge, the fawn turned and vanished back into the forest, leaving Ewan and Alara standing in the clearing, their hearts filled with a quiet joy. It was a moment they would carry with them always, a testament to the power of nature and the enduring bond they shared. As they made their way back to the village, the sun dipping low on the horizon, casting the world in hues of gold and amber, Ewan knew that the path they walked was one of endless possibility. The future lay before them, a journey to be undertaken not by the guidance of the stars, but by the light of their own hearts, shining brightly in the gathering dusk. The village lay nestled among the rolling hills, a cluster of thatched roofs and winding cobblestone paths where stories lingered in the air like the scent of wildflowers. Ewan and Alara made their way through the familiar streets, the echoes of the forest still whispering in their ears. The evening was drawing in, the sky painted with the deepening shades of twilight, and the gentle hum of life in the village seemed to sway in harmony with the rhythm of their steps. As they passed by the bustling marketplace, the vendors were beginning to close their stalls, their wares packed away with care. The air was filled with the aroma of freshly baked bread and the last strains of a minstrel's song, a melody that danced on the evening breeze. Ewan's heart felt light, unburdened by the weight of celestial charts and astrological predictions. The world around him seemed to pulse with life and possibility, each moment a precious thread in the tapestry of his existence. Alara walked beside him, her presence a comforting warmth that anchored him to the present. Her laughter was like a delicate chime, a sound that resonated deeply within him. They spoke little, content in the knowledge that words were not always necessary to communicate the depths of their connection. Yet, beneath the serene surface, a current of unease threaded through Ewan's thoughts. The memory of the astrologer, with his cryptic warnings and ominous charts, lingered in his mind like a shadow. Though he had chosen to follow his heart rather than the stars, he could not entirely shake the sense of foreboding that clung to him, like the distant rumble of a storm on the horizon. As they approached the village green, where the great oak stood sentinel, its branches reaching skyward, Ewan paused and turned to Alara. "Do you ever wonder," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, "if the stars hold any sway over our lives?" Alara met his gaze, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "I think," she replied thoughtfully, "that the stars are like mirrors, reflecting the truths we hold within ourselves. They can guide us, but they do not determine our fate. Our choices, our actions, those are what truly shape our paths." Her words were a balm to his troubled mind, soothing the anxiety that had taken root. Yet, as they lingered beneath the ancient oak, the sense of suspense did not entirely dissipate. It was as if the world held its breath, waiting for the next chapter of their story to unfold. The village elder, a wise woman named Siona, approached them with a knowing smile. Her eyes, sharp and bright despite her years, seemed to pierce through the veil of uncertainty that clung to Ewan. "And what brings the two of you to the green on this fine evening?" Siona inquired, her voice rich with the wisdom of countless seasons. Ewan hesitated, but Alara answered with a gentle laugh. "Just a walk, Lady Siona. The forest called to us today, and we could not resist." Siona nodded, as if she understood far more than they could articulate. "Ah, the forest has its own magic, its own way of speaking to those who listen. But beware, young ones, for not all voices are benevolent." A chill crept over Ewan's skin, though the night air was mild. Her words seemed to echo the unease that had been simmering within him, drawing forth a thread of tension that he could not ignore. "Do you believe the stars can tell us of such things?" Ewan asked, his curiosity piqued despite his earlier resolve. Siona regarded him with a thoughtful expression. "The stars are ancient, older than the forest or the mountains. They have seen many things, and they whisper their secrets to those who know how to listen. But remember, the stars do not command, they merely illuminate." Her words lingered in the air, a gentle reminder of the balance between fate and free will. Ewan felt a renewed sense of determination, a desire to forge his own path despite the uncertainties that lay ahead. As they bid farewell to Siona and continued on their way, the night deepened around them, stars beginning to prick the sky with their silvery light. The village seemed to settle into a peaceful slumber, the gentle murmur of the stream a lullaby that soothed the soul. Yet, as they neared Alara's cottage, a flicker of movement caught Ewan's eye. A figure, cloaked in shadow, lingered at the edge of the village, watching with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. The night seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with anticipation. Alara must have sensed his unease, for she touched his arm lightly. "What is it, Ewan?" He hesitated, unsure whether to voice his suspicions. "I'm not certain," he admitted, his voice low, "but something feels amiss." Together, they turned their gaze toward the shadows, but the figure was gone, leaving only the rustle of leaves in its wake. The moment passed, the village once more tranquil and undisturbed, yet the sensation of being watched lingered, a whisper on the edge of awareness. Alara squeezed his hand reassuringly, her presence a beacon of warmth in the gathering darkness. "Whatever comes, we will face it together," she said softly, her words a promise that resonated within him. Ewan nodded, grateful for her unwavering support. They parted with a gentle embrace, a promise of tomorrow shared in the quiet night. As he made his way home, the stars above seemed to shimmer with a quiet understanding, a reminder that while they might illuminate the path, it was he who chose the direction. Sleep did not come easily that night. Ewan lay awake, the events of the day playing over in his mind. The encounter with the fawn, the wisdom of Siona, the mysterious figure in the shadows. His thoughts danced like fireflies in the dark, elusive and fleeting. Eventually, exhaustion claimed him, and he drifted into a restless slumber, dreams filled with glimpses of starry skies and whispers of the forest. It was a night of uneasy visions, where reality and imagination blurred together in a tapestry of light and shadow. When dawn broke, Ewan awoke to the soft glow of morning light filtering through the window, the air fresh with the promise of a new day. The village was already stirring, the sounds of life weaving a familiar melody that wrapped around him like a comforting embrace. Determined to shake off the lingering disquiet, Ewan decided to visit the village square, where the people gathered to exchange news and share in the simple joys of communal life. It was a place of laughter and camaraderie, where the worries of the world seemed to fade, if only for a little while. As he stepped into the square, Ewan was greeted by the sight of friends and neighbors, their faces alight with warmth and familiarity. Yet, beneath the surface, he sensed a ripple of tension, an undercurrent that hinted at something amiss. He spotted Alara across the square, her smile a beacon that drew him to her side. "Good morning, Ewan," she greeted him, her eyes bright with the morning's light. "Good morning, Alara," he replied, his heart lifting at the sight of her. "Have you heard any news?" She nodded, her expression turning serious. "There are whispers of strange happenings in the village. People have seen shadows moving at the edge of the forest, and some say they've heard voices carried on the wind." Ewan felt a prickle of apprehension, the memory of the shadowy figure from the night before surfacing in his mind. "Do you think it's connected to what we saw last night?" Alara considered this, her brow furrowing in thought. "It's possible, but until we know more, all we can do is remain vigilant and trust in ourselves." Her words were grounding, a reminder of the strength they held within. Yet, as they stood together in the square, Ewan could not shake the feeling that the stars, for all their distant beauty, were watching with a keen interest, their secrets waiting to be unveiled. As the morning sun crept over the thatched rooftops, casting its golden glow across the cobbled square, Ewan and Alara stood amidst the bustle of the village. The air was crisp and carried the earthy scent of the forest that bordered their small hamlet. Villagers moved about with their daily tasks, but an undercurrent of unease threaded through their movements, a reflection of the strange whispers that had begun to circulate. Ewan's thoughts were a tangled web of unease and intrigue. The previous night's encounter with the shadowy figure lingered in his mind like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over the morning's light. He found solace in Alara's presence, her calm demeanor a balm to his troubled spirit. She was a beacon of strength, her deep connection to the natural world and its mysteries, a testament to her wisdom. Perhaps, Ewan mused aloud, his gaze drifting to the forest's edge, where the shadows seemed to dance just out of reach, we should consult the stars once more, not to seek answers, but to find guidance in these uncertain times. Alara nodded, her eyes reflecting the depth of the universe above. The stars have long been our guides, though their messages are not always clear. We must approach them with humility, for they do not yield their secrets easily. Together, they made their way to the small observatory at the village's outskirts, a humble structure built of stone and wood, its roof open to the heavens. It was a place of quiet contemplation, where the villagers often gathered to share stories and seek wisdom from the celestial. The observatory was Ewan's sanctuary, a place where he felt the whispers of the universe most keenly. Inside, the air was cool and still, the silence broken only by the soft rustle of parchment and the gentle clink of astrolabes. Ewan moved with reverence, his fingers brushing over the ancient texts that lined the shelves, each book a repository of knowledge passed down through generations. Alara joined him at the central table, where a map of the heavens lay unfurled, its intricate lines tracing the paths of stars and planets. As they studied the map, Ewan felt a familiar sense of awe at the vastness of the cosmos, its endless expanse both comforting and humbling. The stars, distant and enigmatic, were like old friends, their presence a constant in a world of change. Yet, as he traced the constellations with his gaze, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. "The stars are restless," he murmured, his voice barely more than a whisper. "Their patterns seem unsettled." Alara leaned closer, her eyes scanning the map with a keen intensity. "There is a disruption," she agreed softly, "a celestial shift that mirrors the unease we feel on the earth." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Alden, the village's elder and keeper of its ancient lore. His presence was like the steadying weight of an anchor, grounding them in the face of uncertainty. His eyes, wise and knowing, met theirs with a gentle smile. "What troubles you, young ones?" he asked, his voice a warm rumble like distant thunder. Ewan explained their concerns, the strange occurrences in the village and the unsettling signs in the stars. Alden listened with the patience of one who had seen many seasons pass, his gaze drifting thoughtfully to the sky. "The stars are indeed our guides," he said after a moment, "but they are also mirrors. They reflect the state of our world, our hearts, and our minds. When there is turmoil within, it is echoed in the heavens." Alara nodded, her expression contemplative. "Then perhaps the shadows we see are not just of the forest, but of our own making, a manifestation of our fears and doubts." Alden's eyes twinkled with a hint of mischief, an old man still delighting in the mysteries of life. "Indeed, and yet there is always light, even in the darkest of nights. We must seek it out, both within ourselves and in the world around us." His words lingered in the air, a gentle reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. Ewan felt a renewed sense of purpose, his resolve strengthened by the elder's wisdom. Together, they would face the shadows, guided by the stars and the light within. As the day wore on, Ewan and Alara returned to the village, their steps more assured. The market square was alive with activity, the vibrant colors of fabrics and produce, a testament to the resilience of life even in uncertain times. The villagers moved with a sense of determination, their spirits undaunted by the whispers of shadows. Ewan paused at a stall where an old woman sold herbs and remedies, her hands moving with practiced ease as she bundled fragrant sprigs of lavender and rosemary. Her eyes, sharp and knowing, met his with a nod of recognition. "The forest has many secrets," she said, her voice a soft rasp like the wind through leaves. "But it also holds answers if you know where to look." Alara joined him, her gaze thoughtful. "We must be mindful of the balance," she murmured, "between what is seen and unseen, known and unknown." The old woman smiled, her face a map of lines etched by time and laughter. "A wise heart listens to the whispers of the world and finds its place within it." Their conversation was cut short by the sound of raised voices near the edge of the square. A group of villagers had gathered, their expressions a mix of fear and curiosity. Ewan and Alara exchanged a glance, their instincts urging them forward. As they approached, they saw a young man standing in the center of the circle. his eyes wild with a mixture of excitement and fear. In his hands, he held a small, intricately carved box, its surface etched with symbols that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Ewan felt a shiver of recognition, the box a relic from the village's past, a talisman said to hold the power of the stars themselves. It was a powerful object, one that required great care and respect. The young man, oblivious to the gravity of his possession, spoke with fervor. "The stars have spoken to me," he declared, his voice ringing with conviction. "They have shown me the path to our salvation." Elara stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. "The stars are guides, not masters," she cautioned gently. "Their light is meant to illuminate, not control." The young man's gaze met hers, his bravado faltering in the face of her calm certainty. "But we are in danger," he insisted, his voice wavering. "The shadows are closing in." Ewan moved to stand beside Elara, his own voice steady and reassuring. "We face the shadows together as a community. The stars are with us, as are the strength and wisdom of our people." The villagers murmured in agreement, their fear giving way to a collective resolve. The young man, his initial fervor subdued, nodded slowly, the weight of responsibility settling upon him. Together, they turned their eyes to the sky, where the stars began to emerge, one by one, in the deepening twilight. Their light, distant and unwavering, seemed to whisper promises of hope and guidance, a reminder that even in the darkest times, the universe held them in its embrace. As the night unfolded, Ewan and Elara stood at the heart of the village, their spirits intertwined with the stars above and the earth below. The shadows, though still present, were tempered by the light of their unity, a testament to the enduring power of community and the timeless dance of the cosmos. The night draped its velvet cloak over the village, each star a pinprick of light that pierced through the vast expanse, casting a gentle glow upon the earth. The villagers, now gathered in a circle at the heart of their beloved hamlet, felt the night's cool breath upon their skin, a shared shiver that connected them in this moment of quiet solidarity. Ewan, sensing the lingering tension, began to speak once more, his voice carrying the cadence of an ancient lullaby. "The stars tell stories," he mused, his eyes tracing constellations that had guided sailors and shepherds for centuries. "They speak of love and loss, of quests and conquests, of destinies intertwined, but they also whisper of caution, of paths best not taken." Elara nodded, her gaze fixed on the constellation of the Hunter, a figure known for its relentless pursuit and unyielding ambition. "In their light, we find both guidance and warning," she added softly, her words a gentle reminder to those around her that the cosmos, while beautiful, was also complex and enigmatic. The villagers listened, their hearts attuned to the wisdom woven into the fabric of the night. The air was thick with anticipation, a shared breath held in the hope of a new beginning. Yet, beneath this tranquil surface, a ripple of suspense stirred, a reminder that the night held secrets yet to be revealed. Amidst the crowd, a figure stirred, a man whose presence had been overshadowed by the tumult of the evening. His eyes, dark as onyx, gleamed with a peculiar light, a mixture of curiosity and calculation. He was known as Alden, a traveler who had wandered into the village some weeks prior, his origins as mysterious as the stars themselves. Alden stepped forward, his movements fluid and deliberate, as if he were a shadow made flesh. "If it is stories you seek, then perhaps I can offer one of my own," he proposed, his voice smooth as silk, weaving through the air with an almost hypnotic allure. The villagers turned their attention to him, curious and wary in equal measure. Alden's reputation as a teller of tales was well known, his stories laced with a charm that was both captivating and unsettling. Ewan, ever the protector of his people, regarded Alden with a measured gaze. "Speak, then, if you have words to share," he invited, his tone cordial yet cautious. Alden nodded, a faint smile playing upon his lips as he began his tale. "Once, in a kingdom not unlike our own, there lived a young astrologer named Kale. He was gifted, his eyes attuned to the dance of the stars, his mind a tapestry of celestial knowledge." The villagers leaned in, drawn by the promise of the story, their imaginations kindled like lanterns in the night. Kale, in his youthful arrogance, sought to wield the stars' influence not for wisdom, but for desire, Alden continued, his voice threading through the air like a silken ribbon. He believed that by harnessing the heavens, He could win the heart of a maiden named Lysandra, whose beauty was famed across the land. Alara, intrigued despite herself, listened intently, her mind weaving the tale into the tapestry of her own experiences. She knew well the power of the stars, but also their capricious nature, a truth she had learned through years of careful study. Alden's voice dropped to a whisper, drawing the villagers closer. Kale crafted a plan, one that would use the stars to weave a spell of attraction. He charted the movements of Venus, the planet of love, and timed his incantations to the rising of the moon, believing this alignment would ensnare Lysandra's heart. The crowd murmured, the audacity of Kale's plan both thrilling and troubling to their ears. But the stars, though ancient and wise, do not bend to the whims of mortals, Alden intoned, his gaze sweeping across the gathered faces. In his hubris, Kale failed to see that the stars demand respect and reverence, not manipulation. His spell, instead of nurturing love, sowed discord and jealousy, casting a shadow over the kingdom. A hush fell over the villagers, the weight of the story settling upon them like a frost. They understood now the warning embedded in Alden's tale, a caution against the reckless use of powers beyond their ken. Ewan, his brow furrowed in contemplation, nodded slowly. "We are but a part of the great tapestry of the universe," he reflected, his voice a quiet echo of Alden's tale. "To seek to control it is to court chaos, to unravel the very threads that bind us." Alara, her heart full of gratitude for the wisdom shared beneath the stars, turned to the villagers. "Let us remember the lessons of the past," she urged, her voice a gentle current that carried them forward. "Let us work with the stars, not against them, honoring their guidance and heeding their warnings." The villagers, their spirits buoyed by a newfound understanding, murmured their agreement. They knew now that the stars, while powerful, were not to be trifled with, their light a beacon of wisdom rather than a tool of desire. As the night wore on, the air around them seemed to lighten, the shadows receding into the depths from whence they came. The stars, steadfast and eternal, shone down upon the village, their light a promise of hope and renewal. Alden, his tale told, bowed to the villagers, his eyes alight with a secret knowledge. "Remember," he advised, his voice a final whisper on the wind, "the stars are a guide, not a master. Let them light your path, but do not seek to bend them to your will." With that, he melted back into the crowd, his presence as ephemeral as the night itself, leaving behind a village forever changed by the stories and the stars. The villagers, their hearts woven into a tapestry of shared experience, stood together beneath the canopy of the cosmos, united in their resolve to walk in harmony with the celestial dance. And as the first light of dawn began to brush the horizon with its gentle hues, they knew that they faced the future with a clarity born of wisdom and a unity forged in the light of the stars. As the first golden rays of dawn stretched lazily across the fields, the village began to stir with the gentle hum of awakening life. Birds, nestled in the cradles of ancient oaks, unfurled their wings and greeted the morning with a chorus of song that seemed to weave itself into the very fabric of the air, a gentle reminder that each day was a new story waiting to be written. In the heart of the village, where cobblestones bore witness to countless footsteps of yore, there stood a quaint little cottage, its walls draped in ivy and its windows aglow with the soft warmth of a flickering hearth. It was here that young Ilara, a maiden with hair like spun gold and eyes that mirrored the vast knowing sky, awoke from dreams tinged with stardust. Ilara's life had always been intertwined with the stars. Her mother, a wise woman whose hands had caressed the earth and sky alike, taught her to read the heavens, to listen to the stories whispered by constellations, and to find solace in their eternal embrace. Yet, as she stepped into the soft light of morning, Ilara felt a subtle shift in the winds of fate, a whisper of change carried on the breeze. Her friend, the ever-curious and slightly hapless Joran, had been meddling with the stars in ways that were less than wise. Joran, with his tousled hair and eyes full of mischief, was a firm believer in the magic of the celestial bodies, yet his fervor often led him down paths fraught with folly. He had recently taken it upon himself to concoct a plan, one both grand and misguided, to win the heart of Mira, the village's enigmatic beauty. Joran's intentions, though earnest, were blind to the delicate balance of the cosmos. He fancied himself a master of astrology, weaving tales of destiny and romance from the patterns he thought he discerned in the night sky. His latest endeavor involved a series of elaborate predictions, each more extravagant than the last, promising Mira a future of unparalleled wonder if only she would heed the call of the stars. Unbeknownst to Joran, Mira had little interest in cosmic declarations. Her heart was rooted firmly in the earth, her passions grounded in the tangible beauty of the world around her. Flowers, not stars, held the key to her soul. The laughter of children, not the whisper of the wind, was her song. Yet Joran, blinded by his celestial visions, pressed on, convinced that the stars spoke his truth. On this particular morning, Alara decided it was time to intervene before Joran's misguided endeavors led both him and the village astray. She set out to find him, her steps light upon the dew-kissed grass, her heart a compass guided by wisdom and compassion. She found him near the village square, amidst scrolls of parchment and charts of the heavens, his brow furrowed in concentration. A small crowd had gathered, drawn by his fervent declarations and the promise of entertainment. Joran, oblivious to the skeptical glances and amused smiles, was in his element, weaving tales of destiny with the fervor of a prophet. "Joran," Alara called, her voice a gentle ripple across the sea of anticipation. "Might we speak for a moment?" He looked up, surprise flickering across his features before giving way to a warm smile. "Alara, have you come to witness the unfolding of fate?" She chuckled softly, shaking her head. "Not quite, my friend. I fear you may be treading a dangerous path with your interpretations." Joran waved a dismissive hand, confidence radiating from his every pore. "The stars have spoken, Alara. Mira's future is written in the constellations." Alara stepped closer, her voice a quiet melody. "The stars may guide us, Joran, but they do not dictate our hearts. Mira is not a prize to be won with promises of celestial grandeur." He hesitated, the certainty in his eyes wavering for the briefest of moments. "But the signs." "The signs are but whispers," Alara replied softly. "It is our hearts that sing the loudest, and Mira's heart is not swayed by the stars." Joran's shoulders sagged, the weight of his misguided endeavors settling upon him. "Then, what am I to do, Alara? How can I show her my heart?" She smiled, a gentle reassurance. "Perhaps start by listening to hers. The stars may shine brightly, but it is the light of understanding and kindness that truly illuminates the way." With that, Alara turned to leave, her steps carrying her back toward the warmth of her cottage, the promise of a new day unfolding beneath the arc of the sky. Behind her, Joran remained, his gaze turned inward, pondering the wisdom in her words. As the day stretched on, the village thrummed with life. Children played beneath the watchful eyes of ancient trees, their laughter a testament to the simple joys of the world. The market square bustled with activity, a vibrant tapestry of colors and sounds that wove itself into the rhythm of the day. Joran, inspired by Alara's gentle counsel, sought Mira in the flower-strewn meadows beyond the village. There, amidst the wild beauty of nature, he found her, her fingers trailing softly through the petals of a vibrant bloom, her expression one of serene contentment. "Mira," he called, his voice a hopeful lilt on the breeze. She looked up, her eyes meeting his with curiosity. "Joran," she replied, a hint of amusement in her tone. "Have the stars sent you to me once more?" He chuckled, a sheepish smile playing upon his lips. "Not the stars, but perhaps a friend with a bit more wisdom than I." She tilted her head, intrigued. "And what does this wise friend suggest?" "That I listen," he said simply, sincerity in every syllable. "That I seek to understand your heart, rather than bending the stars to my will." Mira regarded him for a moment, her gaze thoughtful. "And what do you hear, Joran, when you listen?" He paused, the world around him stilling as he considered her question. "I hear the beauty in the world you cherish, the laughter you bring to those around you, the kindness that shines brighter than any star." A soft smile graced her lips, and she nodded. "Perhaps there is hope for you yet, Joran." In that moment, beneath the wide expanse of sky, a quiet understanding blossomed between them, a promise not of destiny foretold by stars, but of a connection grounded in the simple truth of their shared humanity. As the sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the world in hues of gold and crimson, Alara watched from afar, her heart warmed by the sight of her friends walking side by side, their steps in harmony with the gentle rhythm of the earth. The stars began to twinkle into view, their light a testament to the enduring beauty of the cosmos. Yet, for Alara, it was the light of friendship, of understanding and hope that truly illuminated the night, a beacon guiding them all toward the promise of a new dawn. And so, beneath the watchful gaze of the stars, the village thrived, a testament to the enduring power of wisdom, kindness, and the simple beauty of the human heart. As night unfurled its velvet cloak over the medieval village, the air grew crisp and cool, carrying with it the scents of earth and wood smoke. The villagers retreated to their homes, their silhouettes silhouetted against the dim glow of lantern light, leaving the world outside to the quietude of nocturnal whispers. Yet within this serene landscape, where the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl formed a symphony of the night, there was one who found himself restless. Joran, with thoughts as turbulent as the winds that swept the moors, paced the narrow path that wound through the village. His heart, once a compass guided by the stars, now beat to a rhythm more grounded, more uncertain, yet undeniably human. His recent encounter with Alara and the words exchanged lingered in his mind, like echoes in a cavern, shaping his thoughts and reconfiguring his understanding of the world and his place within it. The allure of the stars, once a siren song promising fate and fortune, had dulled, replaced by the warmth of genuine human connection. As he walked, his footsteps muted against the soft earth, Joran found himself drawn to the village square, where the statue of the old astrologer stood, a sentinel in the night. The figure, carved in stone and weathered by time, bore the weight of countless stories, whispered secrets carried by the wind. Joran approached with a reverence once reserved for the celestial bodies he had so ardently studied. "Old friend," he murmured, the words barely audible against the sigh of the breeze, "I sought the stars for answers, yet it is here, among these people, that I find my truth." The statue, silent as ever, seemed to listen, its stony gaze fixed beyond the horizon, toward mysteries untold and futures unimagined. Joran felt a kinship with the old astrologer, a man who in life had perhaps known the same longing, the same hunger to understand the universe and his place within it. As he stood there, lost in thought, the village square began to awaken with a quiet energy. From the shadows emerged a figure, cloaked in the deep blue of the night, yet unmistakable in her presence. It was Alara, her eyes luminous, reflecting the starlight with a clarity that seemed to pierce the very fabric of the night. "Joran," she called softly, her voice a gentle melody that resonated within him. "I thought you might be here." He turned to her, his heart lifting at her approach. "I find solace in this place," he admitted, gesturing to the statue. "It reminds me of the journey I've taken and the lessons learned." Alara nodded, her gaze thoughtful as she regarded the figure of the astrologer. "The stars may guide us, but it is our choices that define us," she said, echoing the wisdom that had begun to take root in Joran's heart. They stood together in companionable silence, the world around them hushed and listening. The night air was cool against their skin, the scent of blooming night flowers mingling with the rich earthiness of the soil. Above, the stars glittered, distant and indifferent, their light falling like a gentle rain upon the village. "Do you ever wonder," Joran began, his voice contemplative, "if those who came before us, the astrologers and seers, truly understood the stars? Or were they, like us, just searching for meaning in a vast, unknowable universe?" Alara tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. "Perhaps both," she replied. "They sought to understand, to make sense of the world, much like we do. But in their search, they also found beauty in the mystery itself." Her words resonated with Joran, soothing the lingering uncertainties that had plagued him. "There is beauty in mystery," he agreed, his voice soft, "and in the connections we forge with one another." A gentle breeze swept through the square, rustling the leaves and carrying with it the promise of change. The village, nestled in the embrace of the night, seemed to breathe in unison with the earth, a living, breathing entity. "Come," Alara said, reaching out a hand to Joran. "Walk with me." He took her hand, their fingers entwining in a gesture of friendship and understanding. Together, they left the square, their footsteps a quiet rhythm against the cobblestones, a counterpoint to the symphony of the night. As they walked, the village unfolded around them, a tapestry of shadows and light, of dreams and reality interwoven. The houses, with their thatched roofs and wooden beams, stood as testaments to the resilience of those who called this place home. Each structure held stories, whispered secrets of generations past, of lives lived beneath the same stars that now watched over them. Joran and Alara moved through the village, the path ahead illuminated by the soft glow of the moon. They spoke of many things: the changing seasons, the villagers' hopes and dreams, the simple joys found in everyday life. And with each word shared, Joran felt the weight of his past fall away, replaced by the lightness of newfound understanding. As they reached the edge of the village, where the fields stretched out like a sea of silver under the moon's gaze, Joran paused, turning to Alara with a question that had long lingered in his heart. "Do you think," he asked, his voice tinged with wonder, "that we are meant to follow a path set by the stars, or do we chart our own course, guided by our hearts?" Alara met his gaze, her eyes reflecting the moonlight with a wisdom that belied her years. "I believe," she said slowly, her words deliberate and true, "that while the stars may offer guidance, it is our hearts that lead us to our true selves. The journey is ours to make, and in that journey, we find our purpose." Her answer, simple yet profound, resonated within Joran, echoing the truths he had begun to uncover. It was a revelation, a moment of clarity that illuminated the path ahead, not with the light of distant stars, but with the warmth of human connection. Together, they stood at the threshold of the fields, the world before them vast and full of promise. The stars, with their eternal light, watched over them, silent witnesses to the unfolding story of two souls finding their way in an ever-changing world. And as the night deepened, wrapping the village and its inhabitants in its tender embrace, Joran and Alara turned back toward home, their hearts alight with hope and the promise of new beginnings. The journey was theirs to make, and in each step taken, they discovered the beauty of life, not in the stars, but in the simple, profound act of living. The path back to the village was a mosaic of moonlit shadows and the gentle rustle of leaves in the night breeze. Each step Joran and Alara took seemed to pulse with a newfound rhythm, a symphony composed not of celestial bodies, but of shared glances and quiet smiles. There was an ease between them now, a comfort born from the vulnerability of shared truths and the tender weaving of trust. As they walked, the village loomed closer, its outlines softened by the silvery glow of the moon. The air was fragrant with the scent of blooming night jasmine, the flowers opening their petals to the cool night air, releasing a perfume that mingled with the earthy aroma of the fields. The village was asleep, the hustle of the day replaced by the gentle lull of night, where only the occasional hoot of an owl or the distant howl of a wolf broke the silence. Yet within this tranquility lingered a whisper of suspense, like the tension in the air before a storm. Joran could feel it, a subtle undercurrent that stirred the hairs on the back of his neck. It was as if the village itself, with its stone cottages and winding paths, held secrets as deep and mysterious as the night sky. Alara seemed to sense it too. Her steps slowed as they neared the edge of the village, her eyes scanning the familiar landscape with a gaze that lingered longer than usual. "There is something different tonight," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking too loudly might shatter the delicate balance of the night. Joran nodded, though he could not pinpoint what had shifted. Perhaps it was the knowledge they now carried, the realization that their fates were not written in the stars but crafted by their own hands. Or perhaps it was the village itself, with its ancient walls and cobblestone lanes, harboring stories and mysteries waiting to be unraveled. They passed by the old well, its stone edges worn smooth by time and the hands of countless villagers. A flicker of light caught Joran's eye, a candle burning in one of the windows of the village elder's house. It was unusual for a light to be burning at this hour, and Joran felt a tug of curiosity, coupled with a hint of unease. Alara followed his gaze, her brow furrowing slightly. "Do you think something is amiss?" she asked, echoing the question that danced on the edge of his thoughts. "I don't know," Joran replied, his voice steady but laced with uncertainty. "But I feel we should find out." Together, they approached the elder's house, their footsteps quiet on the cobbled path. The door, usually shut tight against the chill of the night, stood ajar, a thin sliver of light spilling out into the darkness. They exchanged a glance, a silent agreement passing between them, and stepped inside. The room was dimly lit, the flickering candle casting long, wavering shadows on the walls. The elder, a man whose face was a map of wrinkles and wise eyes that seemed to hold the weight of many lifetimes, sat at a wooden table cluttered with scrolls and parchments. He looked up as they entered, his expression a mix of surprise and relief. "Joran, Alara," he greeted them, his voice a gravelly whisper that carried the warmth of familiarity. "I had not expected visitors at this hour." "We saw the light," Alara explained, gesturing to the candle. "We thought something might be wrong." The elder sighed, a sound heavy with the burden of untold stories. "Not wrong, perhaps, but something is indeed stirring. The stars have been restless, their patterns shifting in ways I have not seen in many years." Joran felt a chill run down his spine. The stars, those distant points of light, had been his guide for so long. And now, even they seemed to be shifting, mirroring the changes within him. "What does it mean?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The elder shook his head, his gaze far away, as if lost in the labyrinth of time. "It is not for the stars to say, but for us to discern. They can guide, but they do not dictate. The true answers lie within us, in the choices we make." There was a silence then, a moment suspended in time where the weight of the elder's words settled over them. Joran felt a sense of awe, of respect for the man before him, who had spent years interpreting the language of the stars, yet understood the limits of their guidance. Alara stepped closer, her curiosity piqued. "Have you seen this before? These shifts in the stars?" The elder nodded slowly, his eyes clouded with the memories of a long life. "Once, long ago, it was a time of great change, when the world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what was to come. And now it seems we stand on the threshold of such a time once more." Joran and Alara exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. They were part of this change, caught in the currents of a world that was both ancient and ever new. And though the path ahead was uncertain, they knew they would walk it together. The elder rose from his seat, his movements slow and deliberate. "You are young, but wise beyond your years," he said, his gaze resting on each of them in turn. "Trust in your hearts, for they will lead you true." As they left the elder's house, the night air felt cooler, the stars above a tapestry of possibilities. Joran and Alara walked side by side, their steps in sync, their hearts beating to the same rhythm. The village lay still around them, a world of stories waiting to be told. And as they returned to their respective homes, the promise of new beginnings lingered in the air, like the scent of night jasmine carried on the breeze. They knew the journey was just beginning, and with each step taken, they would discover new truths, not written in the stars, but forged in the fires of their own hearts. The village slept on, wrapped in the embrace of the night, its secrets safe for another day. And as the first light of dawn kissed the horizon, Joran and Alara found solace in the knowledge that while the stars might shift and change, the connections forged in the heart remained steadfast and true. As dawn's gentle light began its slow caress over the rolling hills, the village of Eldergrove stirred softly from its slumber. The morning mist, a silken veil over the fields, caught the golden hues of the rising sun, painting a picture of serenity and promise. The air was crisp, carrying with it the earthy aroma of dew-kissed grass and the faint fragrance of wildflowers waking to the sun's embrace. Joran awoke with a sense of purpose thrumming through his veins, an excitement that had not visited him in many moons. He dressed quickly, the anticipation of the day ahead urging him into action. The memory of the elder's words lingered in his mind, a guiding beacon as he moved through the familiar paths of his morning routine. Alara, too, found herself unusually alert, the weight of sleep having lifted with surprising ease. Her thoughts drifted to the elder's parting wisdom, a gentle nudge towards trusting her instincts and the burgeoning bond she shared with Joran. She moved to the window, where the curtains billowed softly with the morning breeze, and gazed out at the world just waking to life. The village square soon came alive with activity, the rhythmic clatter of wooden carts mingling with the cheerful calls of merchants setting up their stalls. The scent of freshly baked bread wafted through the air, mingling with the earthy undertones of spices and herbs. It was market day, and the village buzzed with the vibrancy of commerce and camaraderie. Joran found himself at the heart of this bustling scene, his eyes scanning the crowd for a familiar face. He spotted Alara near a stall that showcased an array of colored fabrics fluttering like banners in the light breeze. She was deep in conversation with the merchant, her laughter a melody that drew him closer. "Good morrow, Alara," he greeted, his voice warm and inviting. She turned to him, her eyes lighting up with a sparkle that matched the morning sun. "Good morrow, Joran," she replied, her smile soft and genuine. They spoke of the market's offerings, their conversation flowing as naturally as the stream that wound its way through the village outskirts. Yet beneath their light-hearted exchange lay a shared understanding, a connection that pulsed with a life of its own. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its golden glow over the village, Joran and Alara wandered through the market, exploring its myriad wonders. The stalls brimmed with vibrant produce, their colors a feast for the eyes, while artisans showcased their crafts, each piece telling a story woven from imagination and skill. But amid the market's lively chaos, a shadow of uncertainty began to creep into Joran's thoughts. He recalled the elder's words, a reminder of the folly that had brought him to this point, and the journey of self-discovery that lay ahead. He felt a nudge of self-doubt, the remnants of his misguided attempts to win Alara's heart through the stars. It was a folly he had come to regret, a path that had led him astray from the truth that dwelled within himself. Joran knew he had to confront this shadow, to make amends for past missteps and forge a new path with honesty and sincerity. Alara, sensing a shift in his demeanor, touched his arm lightly. "Joran, is something troubling you?" she asked, her voice gentle yet probing. He hesitated, the weight of his past folly heavy on his conscience. But the warmth in her eyes, the trust they shared, emboldened him to speak. "Alara," he began, his voice steady, "there's something I must confess." She listened intently as he recounted his misadventures with astrology, the misguided attempts to use the stars as a means to capture her attention. He spoke of the folly of relying on celestial movements rather than the truth of his own heart. Alara listened without interruption, her expression thoughtful and compassionate. When he finished, she regarded him with a gentle smile. "Joran," she said softly, "we all have our missteps, paths we wander in search of understanding. What matters is not the path taken, but the lessons learned." Her words were a balm to his troubled heart, a reminder that mistakes were but stepping stones on the path to wisdom. Together, they stood in the heart of the bustling market, their connection deeper and more resilient than ever. As the morning gave way to afternoon, an air of anticipation settled over the village. The elder had spoken of a gathering in the evening, an event that promised to weave together the threads of the community in celebration and unity. Joran and Alara, with their newfound understanding, looked forward to the gathering, eager to partake in the shared joy of their village. The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon with hues of amber and rose. As dusk approached, the villagers began to congregate in the great clearing at the village's edge, where bonfires flickered and music filled the air. The aroma of roasting meats and spiced cider mingled with the scent of pine, creating an atmosphere of warmth and festivity. Joran and Alara arrived together, their presence noted by many who knew of their journey, their story becoming part of the village's tapestry. The elder, standing at the heart of the gathering, welcomed them with a nod of approval, his eyes twinkling with the wisdom of ages. The evening unfolded with song and dance, the villagers joining hands in a circle that symbolized the unity and strength of their community. Laughter echoed through the night, a testament to the bonds that held them together, even as the stars above watched silently. Amidst the revelry, Joran and Alara found a quiet moment together, stepping away from the crowd to a spot where the night sky stretched vast and unending above them. The stars, once a source of confusion and folly, now seemed to twinkle with a promise of endless possibilities. They stood side by side, their hands entwined, the silence between them filled with understanding. Joran turned to Alara, his heart full of gratitude and hope. "Alara," he said softly, "thank you for seeing beyond my mistakes, for trusting in the truth of what we share." She smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Joran," she replied, "we've both learned much on this journey, And as we look to the future, let us continue to trust in our hearts, for they will guide us true. Together, they watched as a shooting star streaked across the sky, a fleeting moment that echoed the fleeting nature of time itself. Yet in that moment, they felt the enduring strength of their bond, a connection forged not in the stars, but in the depths of their own hearts. As the night wore on, the village celebrated beneath the vast expanse of the cosmos, the stars above a silent witness to the stories unfolding below. And as Joran and Alara stood together, they knew that while the night would eventually give way to dawn, the promise of new beginnings would always be theirs to embrace. The fires of the bonfires crackled warmly, casting dancing shadows that joined in the celebration. And the music played on, a timeless melody that carried them into the future, together. The soft murmur of the night lingered as the villagers slowly dispersed, retreating into the embrace of their humble abodes. The air was thick with the fragrance of pine and wood smoke, a comforting scent that whispered of home and hearth. Joran and Alara remained, the only two left awake under the canopy of stars, their presence a quiet testament to the night's unfolding tale. As silence draped itself over the village, punctuated only by the occasional hoot of an owl or the rustle of leaves stirred by a gentle breeze, they found themselves drawn to the edge of the forest. The path was familiar, worn by countless footsteps, yet it held a mystery all its own, a promise of secrets waiting to be uncovered. "Do you recall," Alara mused softly, her voice as soothing as the night wind, "how it all began with a simple star chart? How you sought the heavens for answers, hoping to win my heart?" Joran chuckled, a rich sound that mingled with the night. "Ah, yes," he said, a hint of sheepishness coloring his tone. "I was a fool, thinking the stars could dictate the course of love, but it was you, Alara, who taught me that true wisdom lies not in the constellations, but in the courage to listen to one's own heart." Together, they ventured deeper into the woods, the path illuminated by the moonlight slipping through the branches above. The forest was alive with the quiet hum of life, a tapestry of sound that spoke of countless stories woven into the earth and sky. "Do you remember the old astrologer?" Joran asked, his mind spiraling back to the beginning of their journey. "The one who insisted that Venus and Mars held the secrets to all matters of the heart?" Alara nodded, her eyes sparkling with the memory. "Yes, and how he told you to gift me a rose on the night when Venus was in retrograde, claiming it would bind our destinies." Joran laughed softly. "Instead, the rose withered, and I nearly lost you before I realized the truth, that love is not a script written in the stars, but a dance, ever-changing and ever-growing." They paused by a small clearing, where a gentle stream whispered its eternal song. The water glistened under the moonlight, a silver ribbon weaving through the darkness. Alara knelt by the stream, trailing her fingers through the cool water, her touch sending ripples cascading outward. "The astrologer's words were not without merit," she admitted, her voice thoughtful. "They were merely misinterpreted. The stars, after all, are but guides, not masters. They illuminate the path, but it is we who choose to walk it." Joran joined her by the stream, his gaze following the ripples as they danced across the surface. "True," he agreed, "and it was through our own missteps that we discovered the strength within ourselves. It is a lesson I shall carry with me always." They lingered there, wrapped in the tranquility of the night, the forest a cocoon of serenity that enveloped them in its timeless embrace. The world felt vast and infinite, yet intimate and connected, a paradox that held a beauty all its own. As they rose to continue their journey, the forest seemed to shift around them, the shadows deepening as the moon slid behind a cloud. A sudden rustle in the underbrush caught their attention, a sound too deliberate to be merely the wind. They exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. "Do you think it's the fox again?" Alara whispered, recalling the mischievous creature that had often accompanied them on their walks, a silent guardian of sorts. "Perhaps," Joran replied, his voice low. "Or maybe something more." With cautious steps, they moved toward the source of the sound, curiosity mingling with a hint of apprehension. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the air charged with anticipation. As they drew nearer, a figure emerged from the shadows, a young girl, her eyes wide with fear and wonder. She was dressed in simple, tattered clothes, her hair a wild tangle of curls. In her hands, she clutched a small bundle wrapped in cloth. "Please," she said, her voice trembling yet determined. "I need your help." Joran and Alara exchanged a look, their hearts immediately going out to the girl. There was something about her, a vulnerability that spoke of hardship, yet also a resilience that mirrored their own. "What is it, child?" Alara asked gently, stepping forward with open arms. The girl hesitated, then held out the bundle. "It's my brother," she whispered, her voice breaking. "He's sick, and I don't know what to do." Alara took the bundle, cradling it in her arms as she carefully unwrapped the cloth. Inside was a small boy, his face pale and drawn, his breathing shallow. Her heart ached at the sight, a motherly instinct stirring within her. "We must get him to the village healer," Joran said, urgency threading his voice. "There's no time to lose." Without hesitation, they turned back toward the village, the girl following close behind. As they moved swiftly through the forest, the shadows seemed to part before them, a path opening to guide them home. The village was quiet as they arrived, the houses dark and silent under the watchful gaze of the stars. Yet there was a warmth in the air, a sense of comfort that enfolded them as they made their way to the healer's cottage. The healer, a wise old woman with eyes as sharp as a hawk's, greeted them at the door, her expression softening as she took in the scene. She ushered them inside, her hands gentle yet firm as she examined the boy. "He's fevered but strong," the healer pronounced after a moment, her voice a balm to their frayed nerves. "We'll need herbs and rest, but he'll recover." Relief washed over them, a tide that swept away the fear and uncertainty. The girl, tears glistening in her eyes, looked up at Joran and Alara, gratitude radiating from her small frame. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "I didn't know where else to turn." Alara knelt beside her, brushing a stray curl from the girl's forehead. "You were brave to seek help," she said softly, "and you've shown us that love and courage are the true guides in this world." As dawn broke over the village, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold, Joran and Alara stood together, their hearts full. The events of the night had deepened their bond, a reminder that while the stars might light the way, it was the choices made in the heart of darkness that truly defined their path. And as the sun rose, bathing the world in its golden glow, they knew that this new day held endless possibilities, a canvas upon which they could paint the story of their lives, guided not by the stars, but by the unwavering light of their own hearts. The village awoke slowly as the first rays of sunlight spilled over the horizon, casting a gentle warmth that chased away the lingering chill of night. The air was thick with the scent of dew-kissed earth and the sweet promise of a new beginning. Joran and Alara, standing at the edge of the square, felt the weight of their shared experience lift slightly, leaving behind a profound sense of connection and purpose. The young girl, now safely ensconced in the welcoming arms of the village healer, had rekindled a fire within them both, a fire that burned with the promise of redemption and love. As they walked side by side through the awakening streets, the villagers emerged from their homes, their eyes filled with curiosity and relief. Word had spread quickly of the night's events, and the air was alive with the hum of whispered tales and quiet admiration. The presence of Joran and Alara, united in their quest to right the wrongs of misguided intentions, seemed to imbue the village with a newfound sense of hope. The market square, usually bustling with activity, was now a tapestry of vibrant colors and sounds. Merchants arranged their wares with care, the morning sun glinting off copper pots and woven fabrics. Aromas of freshly baked bread and herbs mingled in the air, drawing people into a dance of daily life that felt somehow more significant, more meaningful than before. Alara paused at a stall laden with wildflowers, their petals a riot of color that mirrored the dawn sky. She picked up a small bouquet, its scent reminiscent of springtime and renewal, and handed it to Joran with a soft smile. "For luck," she murmured, her eyes bright with unspoken promises. Joran accepted the flowers with a nod, his heart swelling with gratitude. He had learned much in the past days about the limits of wisdom and the folly of relying solely on celestial guidance. It was the unpredictable nature of human connection, he realized, that truly held the power to transform and transcend. Their path led them to the village green, where children played games of chase and laughter echoed in the open air. Here, away from the watchful eyes of the market, they paused to rest beneath the shade of an ancient oak, its branches like arms reaching to embrace the sky. The tree had stood as a silent witness to countless stories, and now it bore witness to theirs. "Do you think the stars will ever forgive us for our folly?" Joran asked, his voice tinged with a mix of regret and wonder. He leaned against the rough bark, feeling the pulse of life within the tree, and wondered at the vastness of the universe and the smallness of his own understanding. Alara looked up, her gaze tracing the patterns of leaves against the sky. "The stars are constant," she said softly, "but they do not judge. They simply exist, guiding those who choose to see them for what they are. Ancient, silent witnesses to the stories we create below." Her words were a balm to Joran's troubled spirit, and he found himself smiling at the simplicity and truth of her wisdom. "Then perhaps we should write a better story," he suggested, a note of hope threading through his voice, one where love and courage are the guiding stars. Alara laughed, a sound like the chiming of bells, clear and bright. "Yes," she agreed, "a story worth telling, worth living." As the day unfolded, their conversation drifted to lighter topics, stories of their childhoods and dreams for the future. Joran spoke of his fascination with the cosmos, the way the night sky had always seemed to call to him with its mysteries and wonders. Alara shared her love for the earth, the way she found solace in the rhythm of the seasons and the beauty of nature's cycles. They spoke of their shared desire to learn from their mistakes, to forge a new path guided by empathy and understanding. And as they sat beneath the wise old oak, their hearts intertwined with the promise of a future yet unwritten, they felt the universe shift ever so slightly, aligning with their newfound purpose. Yet, as the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting shadows that danced across the grass, a subtle tension began to weave its way through the village. The tranquility of the morning was disrupted by a distant sound, a low rumble that seemed to grow steadily louder. Joran and Alara exchanged a glance, a silent question passing between them. What new challenge awaited them on this day of renewal? Rising to their feet, they made their way back through the village, following the source of the commotion. It led them to the outskirts, where a crowd had gathered, eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. The villagers parted to allow Joran and Alara through, their expressions a testament to the trust that had been forged in the crucible of the previous night's events. Before them stood a caravan, its wagons adorned with vibrant banners and symbols that spoke of lands far beyond the village's borders. The travelers, a motley crew of performers and merchants, had arrived unannounced, their presence an enigma that demanded explanation. A man stepped forward from the caravan, his attire a patchwork of colors and textures that seemed to shift with every movement. His eyes, sharp and knowing, settled on Joran and Alara with an intensity that belied the easy smile on his lips. "Greetings, noble friends," he called out, his voice carrying the lilt of distant lands. "We are but humble wanderers, seeking to share our tales and talents with those who would welcome us." The villagers murmured among themselves, curiosity tempered by the caution born of experience. Joran and Alara, sensing the unspoken question in the air, stepped forward to meet the stranger. "I am Joran, and this is Alara," Joran said, his tone polite but firm. "We welcome you to our village, but we must ask your purpose here." The man's smile widened, and he spread his arms in a gesture of openness. "I am known as Alaric, a storyteller and seeker of truths. We travel from place to place, bringing joy and wonder to those we meet. Our purpose is simple, to share the magic of words and the beauty of the world." Alara studied Alaric, her gaze thoughtful and discerning. "And what truths do you seek here, Alaric?" she inquired, her voice carrying the weight of her own curiosity. Alaric's eyes sparkled with a secret knowledge, and he leaned closer as if to share a confidence. "The stars have whispered of this place," he confided, "and of the remarkable souls who dwell here. We come to learn, and perhaps to teach, if there is willingness to listen." Joran and Alara exchanged a glance, their thoughts aligned in their shared understanding. The village had been through much, and now the arrival of these strangers felt like another chapter in their unfolding story, a chance to learn, to grow, and to embrace the unknown. "Then let us listen," Joran said, his voice carrying the weight of decision. Let us see what truths you bring and what tales you have to tell." And so, as the day stretched into afternoon, the village opened its heart to the travelers, a tapestry of stories and songs weaving their way through the air. Joran and Alara found themselves drawn into the magic of the moment, their souls nourished by the tales of distant lands and the wisdom of those who had walked different paths. The village green transformed into a stage, the air alive with the sound of music and laughter. Children danced with abandon, their joy infectious and pure. The villagers gathered in circles, sharing food and stories, their faces lit by the warm glow of camaraderie. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of twilight, Joran and Alara stood together, their hearts full. The stars began to emerge, one by one, their light a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the smallness of their own place within it. Yet, in that moment, they understood that it was not the stars that guided them, but the choices they made, the love they shared, and the courage they found within. And as the first star winked into existence, they knew that this new chapter held endless possibilities, a story of redemption and hope, written not by the whims of fate, but by the strength of their own hearts. As the twilight deepened, a gentle breeze whispered through the village, carrying with it the scents of earth and wood smoke, mingling with the faint perfume of wildflowers that lay hidden in the shadows. The village, with its thatched roofs and cobbled streets, seemed to breathe with a life of its own, cradling its inhabitants in a tranquil embrace. The night promised solace and secrets, a canvas upon which dreams and fears could dance freely. Joran watched as the villagers, their faces soft with the glow of lanterns, began to disperse, retreating to the comfort of their homes. The laughter and music faded into the night, leaving behind an echo of warmth and unity. He felt a sense of peace settling over him, a gentle reminder that he was part of something greater, a tapestry woven from the threads of history and humanity. Alara stood beside him, her gaze lifted to the heavens where constellations sparkled like diamonds scattered across velvet. Her heart swelled with a quiet joy, a recognition of the interconnectedness of all things. She turned to Joran, her eyes reflecting the starlight, her voice a soft murmur. "Do you ever wonder, Joran, what stories the stars hold?" she asked, her words lingering in the cool night air. Joran smiled, a slow, wistful smile that spoke of dreams and possibilities. "I often think of them as storytellers, each star a word in a language we have yet to fully understand. They watch over us, silent witnesses to our lives, our joys, and our sorrows." Alara nodded, her thoughts drifting to the astrology that had once seemed so distant and mysterious, a tool she feared might guide her heart astray. Yet now, standing under the vast sky, she realized that it was not the stars themselves she needed to fear, but the ways in which people might misuse their influence. She remembered the tales of old, stories of those who had twisted the celestial patterns to suit their desires, to impress or deceive, believing they could manipulate fate itself. In the medieval world, astrology was as much a tool for guidance as it was for folly, its interpretations as varied as the people who sought its wisdom. As they walked, their steps in harmony with the rhythm of the night, Joran and Alara found themselves at the edge of the village, where the forest loomed, dark and inviting. The trees, ancient and wise, stood like silent sentinels, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. It was here, in this borderland between the familiar and the unknown, that Joran shared a story, a tale of caution and intrigue, of a young knight who had once sought to win the heart of a fair maiden through the stars. "His name was Sir Alaric," Joran began, his voice a low, melodic hum that wove through the night. "A brave and noble knight, yet one who was never quite satisfied with the world as it was. He longed for adventure, for the thrill of conquest, and for the heart of Lady Isabel, whose beauty was said to rival that of the moon itself." Alara listened, captivated by the promise of the tale, the way it unfurled like a tapestry in her mind. She could see Sir Alaric, his armor gleaming in the sun, his eyes filled with a restless fire. Sir Alaric was not content to rely on his own merits to win Isabel's favor, Joran continued, his words a gentle cadence that pulled her deeper into the story. He sought the counsel of a famed astrologer, a man known for his ability to read the stars and divine their messages. The astrologer, with a voice as smooth as velvet, told Sir Alaric that the stars foretold of a great conquest, a victory that would earn him the maiden's love. But there was a catch, a prophecy that warned of a perilous journey into the heart of the forest where hidden dangers lay in wait. Alara imagined the knight, torn between desire and duty, his heart a battleground of conflicting emotions. She could feel the tension in the air, a thread of suspense that wound its way through the story, drawing her ever closer to its heart. Driven by ambition and the promise of love, Sir Alaric set forth, his mind filled with visions of glory. But the forest, with its twisting paths and shadowed glades, was a world unto itself, a place where the line between reality and illusion blurred. Joran paused, allowing the silence to deepen, an invitation for the night to weave its own magic around them. Alara felt the pull of the story, the way it danced on the edges of her consciousness, a tantalizing mystery that beckoned her forward. In the heart of the forest, Sir Alaric encountered a band of travelers, their eyes alight with mischief, their laughter a siren's call. They challenged him to a game of chance, promising riches and rewards beyond his wildest dreams. Alara could see the scene unfold, the travelers a motley group of rogues and wanderers, their intentions as inscrutable as the stars themselves. She held her breath, caught in the suspense of the moment, the way the night seemed to hold its breath with her. But the game was rigged, the travelers' promises nothing more than illusions spun from moonlight and shadow. Sir Alaric, blinded by ambition, lost everything, his armor, his sword, his very sense of self. Joran's voice grew softer, tinged with a sadness that echoed through the night. It was then that he realized the truth, that the stars, for all their beauty, could not be bent to his will, that love, true love, could not be won through deceit or manipulation. Alara felt a shiver run through her, a recognition of the story's truth, the way it resonated with her own fears and desires. She understood now, in a way she hadn't before, the dangers of using astrology as a tool for one's own ends, the way it could lead one astray. But Sir Alaric, humbled and wiser, returned to the village, his heart changed by the journey. He sought out Lady Isabel, not with promises of grandeur, but with a humble heart. And it was in this honesty, this vulnerability, that he found what he had sought all along, a love that was true and enduring. Joran's words lingered in the air, a gentle reminder of the power of choice, of the ways in which the heart's desires could be met, not through force or manipulation, but through sincerity and courage. As they stood together, the night deepening around them, Alara felt a sense of peace settle over her, a quiet understanding of her own journey and the choices that lay before her. She took Joran's hand, her touch a silent promise, a testament to the strength of their bond. And in that moment, beneath the watchful gaze of the stars, they knew that their story, like the tales of old, was one of possibility, of hope, and of love that transcended the boundaries of fate. The fire crackled softly, casting flickering shadows that danced like ethereal spirits upon the ancient stones of the courtyard. The night had wrapped its velvety cloak around the world, and the stars shimmered like scattered diamonds, silent witnesses to the unfolding of countless stories woven through time. Alara and Joran stood together, their hearts intertwined like the silken threads in a tapestry of destiny, the air around them humming with the whispers of the past and the promise of the future. In the quietude of the night, Joran's voice emerged once more, a gentle murmur that carried with it the echoes of forgotten legends. Do you know, Alara, in the days of yore, when the world was still young and the skies were an open book, people believed that the stars could speak to those who dared to listen, that they could guide the lost and illuminate the paths of those who wandered through the darkness? Alara nodded, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the celestial bodies above. I have heard such tales, Joran, stories of those who sought wisdom in the heavens, who looked up to the stars not for power, but for understanding. Indeed, Joran continued, his gaze fixed on the constellations that glittered like an artist's masterpiece. Yet, there were times when the knowledge of the stars was wielded not for enlightenment, but for folly, times when the celestial maps were misread and hearts were led astray by the allure of false promises. A gentle breeze rustled through the leaves, carrying with it the scent of earth and the distant memory of rain. Alara leaned closer, her curiosity piqued by the thread of mystery in Joran's words. "Tell me more, Joran. What happened to those who misused the star's wisdom?" Joran's eyes met hers, a flicker of melancholy crossing his features. "There is one tale that comes to mind, a story of a young man, much like Sir Alaric, who sought the favor of a lady through the misguided use of the stars. His name was Cedric, and he lived in a time when the courts were filled with intrigue and ambition. Cedric was enamored with a maiden named Lyanna, whose beauty was said to rival the moon's own radiance. But Cedric, though clever and resourceful, was not a man of wealth or title. He possessed little more than his wits and an old tome of celestial charts, given to him by a traveling scholar. In his desperation to win Lyanna's heart, Cedric turned to the stars, believing that they could reveal the secret to capturing her affections." Alara listened intently, her mind painting vivid images of the young man and his hopeful yet misguided quest. "And what did the stars tell him?" Joran paused, his voice tinged with the weight of cautionary wisdom. "The stars, Alara, can be enigmatic and elusive. Cedric, in his eagerness, saw in their patterns the promise of a love potion, a concoction said to be brewed under the light of a specific constellation, one that appeared only once in a generation. Convinced of his discovery, Cedric set about gathering the rare ingredients, his heart alight with anticipation. But, Joran continued, his tone now shadowed with gravity, what Cedric did not realize was that the constellation he sought was not one of love, but of illusion. The star charts, misread and misinterpreted, led him to create a potion not of affection, but of delusion. Alara's breath caught in her throat, the suspense of the tale weaving its way into her bones. What happened when he gave the potion to Lyanna? The potion, Joran replied, his voice a soft lament, did indeed have an effect, but not the one Cedric had hoped for. Lyanna, upon drinking it, became entranced, not with Cedric, but with a world of her own making. Her eyes saw not the reality before her, but visions of grandeur and fantasy, dreams that could never be realized. The court, witnessing Lyanna's strange behavior, grew suspicious. Rumors spread like wildfire, and soon the truth of Cedric's folly was laid bare. In his attempt to win her love through deceit, Cedric lost not only the chance to win her heart, but his own standing in the court. He became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the perils of seeking shortcuts where sincerity should lead. Alara felt a pang of sorrow for Cedric, his story a mirror of human frailty and the yearning for love that could so easily lead one astray. It's a tale of caution, Joran, and yet there's a certain beauty in it, a reminder of the complexity of our desires and the paths we choose to walk. Yes, Joran agreed, his voice gentle as a lullaby. For in the end, it is not the stars or the potions that determine our fate, but the choices we make and the truths we hold dear. Cedric, though misguided, was driven by love, a force as old as the stars themselves. As they stood beneath the infinite canopy of the night sky, Alara felt the stories of the past intertwine with her own, a tapestry woven with threads of love, folly, and redemption. She tightened her grip on Joran's hand, drawing strength from the warmth of his presence, the steady rhythm of his heart echoing her own. "Let us be wise, Joran," she whispered, her voice barely more than a breath. "Let us learn from the past and cherish the truths we hold, for it is in our hearts that the true magic resides." Joran nodded, his eyes reflecting the light of the stars and the depth of his love for her. "Together, Alara, we shall walk the path of sincerity, guided not by the fleeting promises of the heavens, but by the enduring bond we share." And so, beneath the watchful eyes of the cosmos, Alara and Joran stood as witnesses to their own story, a tale of love and wisdom, of choices made and paths chosen, a testament to the enduring power of the human heart. As the night deepened and the stars continued their eternal dance, the world around them faded into a gentle dream, leaving only the promise of tomorrow and the hope of a new dawn. The night wrapped the world in a velvet shroud, casting a serene hush over the land. The village lay quiet, its humble cottages outlined in silver by the moon's tender light. Only the wind dared whisper its secrets through the branches of ancient oaks, as if conspiring with the stars to weave tales of old. Alara and Joran, standing at the edge of the forest, felt the world slow around them. Time seemed to stretch and bend, a river of moments flowing gently past, inviting them to linger in this precious interlude. The air was cool and sweet, carrying the scent of pine and earth, a reminder of the grounding force of nature that held them steady. Jorn's mind wandered back to the events that had brought them here, to the edge of understanding and beyond the folly of misguided astrology. He recalled the village's eagerness to find love through celestial means, the desperate hope etched into the faces of the young and old alike. The astrologer, with his cryptic charts and mesmerizing incantations, had promised much but delivered little beyond confusion and misplaced desires. Alara, sensing Jorn's thoughts, squeezed his hand gently. She, too, had seen the village's obsession with the star's supposed influence, the way it had clouded judgment and led hearts astray. Yet, in this moment, she realized the beauty of their shared journey, the trials and lessons that had drawn them closer, forging a bond as resilient as iron and as delicate as a silken thread. "Do you remember the night of the festival?" Alara asked, her voice a soft melody in the darkness. Jorn chuckled, a sound rich with affection and memory. "How could I forget? The night the astrologer declared our destinies entwined by the stars, though we had scarcely spoken before." Alara smiled, the memory a vivid tapestry of colors and sounds. The village square had been alive with laughter and music, torches flickering like fireflies in the summer air. She had watched from the sidelines as Jorn, a quiet presence amidst the revelry, had listened to the astrologer's proclamations with a mixture of skepticism and amusement. "It was then I realized," Alara continued, "that true connection cannot be dictated by the heavens. Our hearts found each other long before the stars tried to intervene." Jorn nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the sky met the earth in a seamless embrace. The astrologer's promises had been enticing, a siren's song to the lonely and the hopeful, yet ultimately hollow. It was the shared laughter, the quiet conversations beneath the oak trees, the unspoken understanding that had drawn them together with an undeniable force. As they stood together, the forest whispered its own stories, tales of ancient lovers and forgotten magic. The trees swayed gently, their leaves a chorus of soft sighs in the night. Somewhere in the distance, an owl hooted, a guardian of the dark weaving its own path through the shadows. "Alara," Jorn said, his voice a steady anchor in the night. "What if we could show the village that love is not found in the stars, but in the moments we create together?" Alara turned to him, her eyes bright with the glow of possibility. "A new festival," she suggested, "one that celebrates the bonds we forge with our own hands and hearts, a gathering where stories are shared and laughter echoes like music." Jorn's heart swelled with admiration for her vision, her ability to see beyond the ordinary to the heart of what truly mattered. Together, they began to imagine a celebration that honored the simple yet profound connections between people, a tapestry woven not by destiny, but by choice and kindness. As dawn slowly brushed the sky with hues of rose and gold, Alara and Jorn lingered in the embrace of the night, their dreams taking shape in the quiet before the world awoke. The village, still slumbering in the cradle of the valley, lay unaware of the new chapter about to unfold, a story of love and wisdom penned not by the stars, but by the hearts of two kindred souls. The path ahead was uncertain, a winding journey through the landscapes of hope and doubt, but Alara and Jorn knew they would walk it together, their footsteps echoing with purpose and promise. Each step was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that even in a world obsessed with celestial signs, the true magic lay in the choices they made and the love they nurtured. As the first light of morning kissed the earth, Alara and Jorn turned toward the village, hand in hand. The future awaited them, a canvas of infinite possibilities, painted with the colors of their dreams and the wisdom of their hearts. Together, they would write a new story, one that honored the past, yet embraced the promise of tomorrow, a tale of love, folly, and redemption, woven not by the stars, but by the enduring power of the human heart. And so, with the dawn breaking over the horizon, they took their first steps into a new day, leaving behind the shadows of the night and stepping into the light of a future they would craft together, one moment at a time. As Alara and Jorn ventured back to the village, the morning air was still cool, whispering through the trees with a gentle caress. The path before them was dappled with the soft, golden light filtering through the canopy, casting intricate patterns upon the earth, a reminder of the endless possibilities branching out before them. Their journey was just beginning, and each footfall was a melody in the symphony of their shared destiny. The village lay in a tranquil slumber, the hearths cold and the chimneys silent, as if the world itself held its breath in anticipation of the day ahead. The familiar sounds of waking life began to stir, the distant crow of a rooster, the soft murmur of a brook, and the gentle rustling of leaves in the morning breeze. These sounds wrapped around Alara and Joran like a comforting embrace, grounding them in the reality of their world, yet reminding them of the magic that lay within and beyond. As they approached the village square, the heart of their small world, they found it still cloaked in the gentle hush of dawn. The square was a place of stories, where the cobblestones bore witness to countless tales of joy and sorrow, love and loss. Here, the villagers gathered to share news, barter goods, and weave the fabric of their communal life. It was here that Alara and Joran would begin to redefine their own narrative amidst the tapestry of their community. Their arrival did not go unnoticed for long. The once quiet square gradually awoke to life as villagers emerged from their homes, their curiosity piqued by the sight of the young couple returning hand in hand. Whispers rippled through the gathering crowd, carrying both wonder and speculation. Alara and Joran stood before them, faces illuminated by the soft glow of the rising sun, their hearts full of newfound resolve. Among the onlookers was old Malus, the village's venerable storyteller and keeper of lore. Her eyes, sharp and bright like polished stones, fixed upon the pair with a knowing gaze. She had seen many seasons turn and many stories unfold, and she sensed the significance of this moment. With a subtle nod, she beckoned them forward. Joran, feeling the weight of the village's gaze, cleared his throat and began to speak. "Friends and neighbors," he started, his voice steady but carrying the rawness of emotion. "We stand before you not as astrologers or fortune-tellers, but as two souls seeking to carve our own path. The stars have been our guide, but they do not dictate our journey. It is with our hearts that we choose the way forward." Alara's hand tightened around his, her touch a balm and a bolster. She added, "The folly of relying solely on the stars has taught us that true wisdom lies in our choices, in the love we share, and in the courage to forge a new destiny. We ask for your understanding and your support as we strive to live our truth." Malus stepped forward, her voice a rich tapestry of time and wisdom. "Ah, the stars, they are but distant fires, ancient and unwavering. Yet it is here, in the warmth of human connection, that we truly find our light. Alara and Joran, your journey is a testament to the power of love over fate, of heart over heavens. May your steps be guided by the strength of your bond and the clarity of your vision." A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd, a collective acknowledgement of the couple's courage and sincerity. The villagers, who had once looked to the stars for answers, now saw in Alara and Joran a new kind of guidance, a reminder of the potential within themselves to shape their own destinies. As the sun climbed higher, casting its radiant light over the village, Alara and Joran felt a renewed sense of purpose. The day stretched before them like an uncharted map, full of promise and adventure. Together, they would navigate the complexities of their world, weaving a story that honored the wisdom of the past while embracing the freedom of the future. In the days that followed, the village became a symphony of change. Alara and Joran, with hearts full of hope and hands busy with work, became leaders in their own right. They taught others to see the stars not as masters, but as companions on the journey, guiding yet never deciding. Under their influence, the village began to thrive in unexpected ways, embracing a future unbound by the rigid interpretations of the celestial. The villagers, inspired by the couple's example, found themselves daring to dream beyond the confines of tradition. They learned to look to each other for strength and to the land for sustenance, finding new ways to cultivate both crops and connections. There was a tangible shift, a subtle revolution of spirit as the community began to write its own story with each new day. Yet even amidst the blossoming of hope, there lingered a shadow of suspense, a reminder that the path to change was seldom smooth. The village, like any living entity, faced challenges that tested the resolve of its people. Rumors of unrest in neighboring lands reached their ears, tales of kingdoms in turmoil and alliances in flux. These whispers carried with them a sense of unease, a reminder that the world beyond their borders was a vast and unpredictable place. Alara and Joran, aware of the fragility of their newfound peace, took it upon themselves to prepare the village for whatever lay ahead. They organized gatherings where stories were shared and strategies discussed. They fostered a spirit of unity and resilience, ensuring that the bonds of community would hold strong against the winds of change. One evening, as the village gathered beneath a sky ablaze with stars, Melis shared a tale that resonated with them all, a story of a time when the world had almost forgotten its own power. Once, she began, her voice weaving through the crowd like a gentle breeze, there was a kingdom that relied so heavily on the stars that they forgot to look to each other. Their fields lay fallow, their hearts grew distant, and their stories faded like forgotten echoes. But one day, a young woman stood up and reminded them of the strength within. She showed them that while the stars are constant, it is the fire within us that truly lights the way. As she spoke, the villagers listened with rapt attention, the weight of her words settling in their hearts. They realized that while the stars had their place, it was their own choices, their own courage, that would chart the course of their future. And so, under the watchful gaze of the celestial tapestry above, Alara, Joran, and their fellow villagers embraced the uncertainty of the days to come. They knew that challenges would arise, that the path forward would be fraught with trials and tribulations. But they also knew that they were not alone, that together they would navigate the labyrinth of life, guided not by the stars, but by the love and wisdom they nurtured within their own hearts. As the night deepened and the stars shimmered in silent witness, Alara and Joran stood side by side, their hands intertwined. The village, their village, was a beacon of hope in a world that often seemed adrift. And as they gazed upwards, they whispered a silent vow, a promise to each other and to the future that awaited them, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to rise above and shine, brighter than any star. In the days that followed, the village of Elderglen found itself wrapped in an air of quiet anticipation. The tales of the celestial misadventures had spread like wildfire, igniting conversations that flickered like candle flames in the tavern and around hearths. People spoke of the stars with newfound skepticism, yet some, with a clandestine curiosity, still sought their wisdom, hoping for a glimpse of the future in the twinkling constellations above. Alara and Joran, though now more grounded in their understanding of the world and its mysteries, remained at the heart of these discussions. Their newfound bond, forged in the fires of shared revelations, stood as a testament to the power of truth and the courage to seek it. Together, they walked the cobbled paths of their village, their presence a quiet reassurance to those who had lost their way in the labyrinth of misguided beliefs. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet, the village square came alive with the gentle hum of a gathering. The air was fragrant with the scent of blooming lavender, and the soft murmur of the crowd was punctuated by occasional bursts of laughter. It was a night for storytelling, a tradition as old as the village itself, where tales were spun like silken threads, weaving the past with the present. Elders and children alike gathered around a central fire, its flames crackling and dancing in the cooling night air. The storyteller, a woman with silver hair and eyes that gleamed with the wisdom of countless moons, took her place by the fire. Her voice, when she spoke, was like the soothing murmur of a gentle stream, carrying with it the weight of ages. Long ago, in a time when the world was still young, she began, her words weaving through the crowd like a gentle breeze, there was a land ruled by a king who placed his trust not in the wisdom of his people, nor in the counsel of wise men, but in the stars themselves. The crowd leaned in closer, their faces illuminated by the flickering glow of the fire. Alara and Joran, seated side by side, listened with rapt attention, their hands intertwined as they were on that transformative night. This king, proud and determined to secure his legacy, sought the guidance of a stargazer, a man who claimed to read the heavens like a scholar reads a book. The stargazer, with eyes alight with the glimmer of distant worlds, promised the king a future carved from the very fabric of the cosmos. The storyteller paused, her gaze sweeping over her audience, ensuring she held their attention. Her eyes settled momentarily on Alara and Joran, offering them a knowing smile before she continued. The stargazer spoke of great triumphs and untold riches, she said, her voice rising and falling like the tides. He foretold of a kingdom that would flourish, blessed by the alignment of the celestial bodies. But what the king did not know was that the stargazer's heart was as dark as a moonless night, driven by desires that had little to do with the stars. A shiver ran through the crowd, a collective exhalation of breath that seemed to echo in the cool evening air. The storyteller's voice softened, her words now a whisper carried by the night. The king, blinded by his ambition, followed the stargazer's counsel without question, even as his people whispered of omens and shadows. He turned away from the wisdom of those who loved him, placing his trust instead in the distant, unreachable stars. Alara felt Joran's grip on her hand tighten, a silent acknowledgement of the tale's resonance with their own experiences. They knew well the dangers of following blindly, the perils of forsaking the guidance of one's heart for the allure of the unknown. The kingdom, the storyteller continued, began to crumble under the weight of its own misguided dreams. The stars, indifferent to the plight of mortals, continued their eternal dance across the sky, oblivious to the chaos unfolding below. As the tale unfolded, the crowd listened with bated breath, each person finding their own reflections in the story. It was a reminder, a cautionary tale of the perils of placing faith in that which cannot feel, cannot love, cannot guide with the warmth of a human touch. But all was not lost, the storyteller said, her voice now imbued with a quiet strength. For within the kingdom, there were those who saw the truth. A young woman, wise beyond her years, and a brave knight, whose heart was as steadfast as the mountains, stood together against the tide of despair. Alara and Joran exchanged a glance, a shared understanding passing between them. The story was theirs, in a way, a reflection of the journey they had undertaken together. These two, united in purpose and love, sought to remind the king of the true treasures of his realm, the people whose lives he held in his hands. They spoke not of stars or distant promises, but of the power that lies within the human spirit, the strength to forge one's own destiny. The storyteller's eyes shone with the light of 1,000 stars, her words imbued with the magic of hope and resilience. And in the end, it was not the stars that saved the kingdom, but the courage of those who dared to dream, who dared to believe in the power of love and wisdom. As the tale drew to a close, the crowd erupted into applause, their hearts lifted by the timeless lesson woven into the narrative. Alara and Joran, their spirits buoyed by the story, felt a renewed sense of purpose, a deeper connection not only to each other, but to the world around them. The night wore on, the fire burning low, casting long shadows that danced across the cobblestones. The storyteller, her task complete, retreated to the edges of the gathering, her heart full with the knowledge that her words had touched the souls of those who had listened. Alara and Joran lingered for a while, absorbing the gentle hum of conversation that filled the square. They spoke with friends and neighbors, sharing laughter and warmth under the watchful gaze of the night sky. As the last embers of the fire flickered and died, the village began to disperse, its people returning to the comfort of their homes, their hearts a little lighter, their spirits a little brighter. Alara and Joran walked hand in hand through the quiet streets, the soft glow of the moon lighting their path. They spoke of the future, of the challenges and joys that awaited them, their voices a gentle melody that echoed through the night. And as they paused beneath the canopy of stars, their eyes lifted to the heavens, they knew that while the stars would always hold their mysteries, it was the love and strength within them that would guide their way. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead, their hearts intertwined with a bond that was as enduring as the stars themselves. With a final, shared glance, they turned toward the future, leaving behind the shadows of the past. And in that moment, they understood that the greatest journey was not found in the stars above, but in the path they walked together, hand in hand, beneath the endless sky. The night embraced them with a gentle breeze, whispering secrets only the universe knew. Alara and Joran continued their walk, their steps steady and sure, resonating with the quiet promise of new beginnings. The town, now a backdrop of peaceful slumber, seemed to breathe in harmony with the rhythm of their hearts. As they crossed the old stone bridge, the river below sang a soothing lullaby, its waters reflecting the moon's silver glow. They paused for a moment, resting against the weathered railing, letting the serene beauty of the night envelop them. The air was crisp and clear, each breath a reminder of the life and love they shared. The journey that lay ahead was unknown, a tapestry of dreams yet to be woven. But the uncertainty did not frighten them. Instead, it filled them with a quiet anticipation, a sense of adventure that was both exhilarating and humbling. Each step they would take was a testament to the paths they had traveled, the lessons learned, and the unwavering belief in the power of togetherness. In the distance, the first hint of dawn began to paint the horizon with hues of pink and gold, signaling the promise of a new day. Alara and Joran watched as the sky transformed, a canvas of endless possibilities unfurling before them. The world was waking, and with it, so were their dreams. With hearts full of hope and eyes set firmly on the horizon, they continued their journey, knowing that whatever the future held, they would face it side by side. For in each other, they had found not only love, but a sanctuary, a place where dreams could flourish and the soul could find its true home. And so, under the vast expanse of the awakening sky, Alara and Joran stepped forward into the dawn, their spirits as boundless as the morning light, their love as infinite as the universe itself. As they walked, the soft whispers of the morning breeze carried with it the symphony of the world awakening. A chorus of birds greeting the day, the rustle of leaves dancing with the gentle wind, and the distant murmur of a stream finding its way through the land. Each note was a reminder of the life that pulsed around them, vibrant and full of promise. Alara turned to Joran, her eyes reflecting the brilliance of the rising sun. "Every dawn," she said softly, "is a new beginning, a chance to create and to dream anew." Joran nodded, his gaze steady and filled with a quiet determination. "And we have so much yet to explore, so many dreams to weave into the tapestry of our lives." The path before them was unknown, a mystery waiting to be unraveled. Yet, it was this very uncertainty that filled them with anticipation and wonder. They knew that every challenge would be met with courage, every joy would be shared in laughter, and every moment would be cherished as a gift. Together, they walked hand in hand, their footsteps leaving behind a trail of memories, each one a testament to their journey. The sun rose higher, casting its golden light over the land, illuminating the road ahead and the endless possibilities that awaited them. In that sacred silence of understanding and companionship, Alara and Joran found peace. They had discovered that the true essence of adventure lay not in the destination, but in the journey itself, in the love that grew stronger with each passing day, in the dreams that soared higher with each shared moment. And so, with hearts intertwined and spirits unshaken, they ventured forth into the radiant embrace of the new day, knowing that together they would forever dance in the light of their shared dreams, under the ever-watchful gaze of the endless sky. As they continued their path, the landscape around them shifted gently, the hills rolling into valleys and the trees whispering secrets in the breeze. Each step they took was a step into the unknown, yet it was also a step toward each other, binding them closer with every heartbeat. The world sang a quiet song of promise and renewal, each note a reminder of the endless cycle of beginnings and endings. They paused for a moment on a hilltop, overlooking the vast expanse that stretched beyond the horizon. Here they felt the pulse of the earth beneath their feet, the rhythm of life that echoed their own. Joran turned to Alara, his eyes reflecting the sky's azure depths. "No matter where this road takes us," he said softly, "as long as I walk it with you, it will always lead home." Alara smiled, her heart swelling with a gratitude that words could scarcely capture. She squeezed his hand, feeling the warmth of his promise flowing through her. "And as long as we have each other," she replied, "every step will be a step towards the stars." With a final look at the horizon, they descended the hill, leaving behind nothing but the soft echo of their laughter and the indelible imprint of their love upon the land. The sun continued its ascent, painting the sky with hues of hope and possibility. And so the tale of Alara and Joran became one with the stories of the world, an everlasting testament to the power of love and the beauty of shared dreams. Together, they embraced the journey, knowing that their love was the true compass, guiding them through the chapters of an unwritten future, forever dancing in the light of a new dawn. Their footsteps echoed gently along the winding path, a serene symphony of whispers and rustling leaves. Each step they took seemed to carry them further into a world where time was a gentle river, flowing endlessly yet ever present, cradling them in its eternal embrace. As the village slowly receded from view, its familiar outlines softened by distance, Ilara and Joran found themselves enveloped by the tender embrace of the forest. The trees stood as ancient sentinels, their branches weaving a tapestry of shadows and light that danced around the couple like a silent blessing. The journey was not without its challenges, but with each obstacle, they found new strength in their unity. The path, though winding and sometimes steep, mirrored the undulating rhythms of life itself, reminding them that even the most arduous climbs could reveal vistas of breathtaking beauty. At night, beneath a canopy of stars, they would pause to rest, sharing stories and dreams, their laughter mingling with the nocturnal chorus. The fireflies would gather around them, tiny beacons of light that flickered in harmony with their whispered hopes. As seasons turned and years slipped by, Ilara and Joran's story became a cherished memory, etched into the very heart of the land they traversed. Their legacy was not one of grandeur or fame, but of quiet moments and profound connections, the kind that binds souls together through the ages. And in the gentle passage of time, as they grew old by each other's side, the world around them seemed to echo their enduring love. The hills where they once stood, the meadows they explored, all held traces of their shared journey, a testament to a bond that transcended the ordinary and touched the infinite. In the end, their story was not just a tale of two lovers, but a reminder that every step we take, every soul we touch, becomes a part of the greater tapestry of life. And as Ilara and Joran closed their eyes for the final time, it was with the peaceful certainty that their love would continue to illuminate the path for those who followed, a beacon of light in the ever-unfolding story of the world. Thus, their tale concluded, not with an ending, but with the promise of a new beginning, a love eternal, written among the stars, forever guiding the hearts of those who dared to dream.